feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
The letters he never sent. Jeon, Jungkook, and the melodies that waited in the rain. No one saw him arrive. It was a rainy evening in Busan, soft drizzle, yellow street lamps flickering, and the scent of salt water carried by the wind. There was no bodyguard. No fanfare. Only a figure with a black hoodie and a notebook tucked tightly under his arm. He stood at the edge of the old pier, where memories used to walk barefoot beside him, where echoes of laughter still floated just above the waves. Jeon, Jungkook didn't sing that night. He simply opened the notebook and began tearing pages out, one by one. The wind caught them like fragile wings, carried them away into the rain. No one knew what those pages said, but someone standing far off captured the moment on camera. And when the video reached armies worldwide, hearts broke all over again. Because the caption read, "I kept writing to her, even when I knew she wasn't there to read." After the Tokyo concert, after The Door I Never Closed, many thought Jungkook had let it all go, that perhaps the quiet grief had softened into memory. But they didn't see what he carried in silence, the unsent letters, pages of emotion he never dared publish, written in the quiet hours between dawn and dusk. Each letter ended the same way. "If you ever come back, I'll be right here. Still singing. Still waiting. Still yours." A few weeks later, something strange happened. At a BTS pop-up in Seoul, fans noticed a small hand-sewn pouch pinned to the corner of the "Still With You" mural. Inside it, 5 paper cranes. No label. No announcement. But if you unfolded the wing of one, you'd find a message handwritten in silver ink. "Even when you're not listening, I still sing to you." The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Jungkook's. Fans began calling it the Fifth Crane Project. 4 more pouches were later discovered across the country, tucked into library shelves, inside a park bench compartment, hidden beneath a rose bush in Taekook. And then a final one appeared overseas in Tokyo. 1 crane. 1 message. "You were never a song. You were the silence between them." Big Hit never confirmed it. But a documentary in turn leaked this truth. He wanted people to find her the way he found her, in whispers. And so began the global search. Not for a person, but for a feeling. A presence. The girl who was never named, but always known. During a secret solo fan meet, Jungkook performed an unreleased track titled "Backseat Rain." There were no lights, no choreo, just him barefoot on a wooden stool. The lyrics weren't printed, but fans captured every word. "You left your scarf in my old car. I still drive it when it rains. Pretending you'll say, 'It's cold. Can I stay?' But you never do. And I never stop driving." When he finished, he whispered, "That was for her." The room went silent. Some fans cried so quietly, you could hear their breathing sync with the heartbeat of the moment. Not long after, rumors began that Jungkook had recorded 4 albums never meant for release, his private collection, stored only in analog tapes. They were titled not with names but feelings. Departure. Silence. Memory. Return. No track lists. No streaming. But one staffer claimed, when he listens to them, he smiles like someone who's reading a letter only he can understand. Then a message quietly appeared on Weverse. It wasn't a post. Not even a proper update. Just a glimmer caught in the code, an unfinished draft that developers say was never scheduled for upload. It vanished minutes later, but one fan took a screenshot. "Even if the world forgets her, I hope my music never does. JK, 3:17 a.m. Since then, fans began leaving white envelopes on the stage floors after concerts. Inside, unsent letters of their own. Not to Jungkook, but to whoever their her or him was. Jungkook never publicly acknowledged them. But one day, a stagehand whispered to fans. He collects them. He reads every single one before the next show. And then came the Tokyo Encore. As the final chorus of "Still With You" echoed through the stadium, Jungkook walked off stage, then turned around. He looked directly into the camera and mouthed, "For the one who was never mine, thank you for staying anyway." From that moment on, armies stopped asking who she was. Because they realized it didn't matter. She could be a memory. A metaphor. A soul never born. A piece of Jungkook himself. What mattered was this. She made him sing. And through his voice she never really left. Even now, at the end of every show, an empty music stand waits beside his mic. A quiet space. A sacred pause. A breath for someone the world may never meet. And maybe that's the point. Because not every story is meant to be told. Some are meant to be felt, in the space between lyrics, in the tears we don't name, in the quiet seat of our own memory where someone once sat. Someone who never knocked, but was always home. The rain eventually stopped. But he didn't leave. Long after the last drop slid down the edge of his hoodie, Jungkook remained on that pier, staring into the sea like it owed him an answer. But the ocean, like the memories he carried, said nothing. He pulled the last page from the notebook. It was damp at the edges, but still whole. And on it, written not with ink, but with something that looked like pain disguised as handwriting, were the final words he would never send. Even silence speaks when it hurts enough. 2 weeks passed. Then suddenly, Big Hit released a black and white teaser on all platforms. No music. No text. Just a slow pan across an empty theater. One chair in the front row. White roses on the seat. A spotlight flickering above it like a dying heartbeat. The caption read only. The final letter. Armies knew. It was never just a performance. This wasn't just another era. This was closure wrapped in mourning and hope folded into the hush of goodbye. The project, later named The Light That Waited in Silence, wasn't an album. It was an experience. An immersive event. No phones. No cameras. Just headphones, dim light, and one voice. Jungkook's. Telling a story that had never been spoken, not in lyrics, not in interviews, not even in glances. Only in breath. There was a night where I waited for a voice that would never speak again. And I still wait. Because sometimes, waiting is the only way to say I love you, without begging them to stay. There were no songs. Only poems. Whispers. Letters read aloud into the dark. One for each season. One for each stage of loving someone who no longer answers. One for each moment he broke and built himself again. Spring is when I met her shadow. Summer was when I named it love. Autumn was when I lost her hands. And winter was when I realized I had never been holding anything at all. In the final chamber of the experience, a single sentence was etched into a glass wall, lit by soft white LEDs. Not all endings arrive with goodbye. Some arrive with an echo. Visitors were handed a white card. Blank. They were told to write one sentence, only one, that they never had the courage to send to someone. And then drop it into a glass box titled, Unsent but Unforgotten. A few weeks later, Jungkook posted a photo to Instagram. No face. No caption. Just a glass table. On it, hundreds of those white cards. And a single cup of untouched tea. The same kind he once left sitting in a late-night live stream. As if someone might come back for it. That same day, fans noticed something had changed. At the end of each concert, when Jungkook approached the usual empty seat in the front row, he didn't bow. This time, he placed something there. A folded white letter. Sealed. With no address. But on the back, in small handwriting visible only through zoomed photos. Not for the world. Not for charts. Just for the one who never knocked, but was always home. Rumors exploded. Was this the end of the story? Or a new chapter? Then came the live stream. Jungkook was quiet, brushing his hair behind his ears, hoodie pulled up halfway. He didn't sing. He didn't cry. He just spoke, gently, slowly, like someone touching something sacred. Sometimes I wonder if she was never real. Maybe she was the part of me I was afraid to show. But even now, when I sing, I still leave space for her in every lyric. You've heard her, even if you didn't know it. The comments flooded with purple hearts. But he looked away, eyes focused on something just outside the frame. The thing is, I never stopped writing to her. I just started writing through you. So if you've ever heard my song and felt like it was yours, maybe it was. Maybe you were her too. Then a pause. He reached off screen. Came back holding an envelope. Plain. White. No stamp. He didn't open it. He just held it in both hands like something too precious to unfold. This is the last one. Not because I've run out of things to say, but because some things aren't meant to end in words. Then, quietly, he smiled. A tired, peaceful kind of smile. And said, "You don't have to knock anymore. The door's always open now. From that moment on, Jungkook's concerts changed. Each venue had a letter corner. Fans wrote, folded, placed them into white boxes wrapped in purple thread. No names. No addressees. Just pieces of souls offered to the wind. And at the end of each show, after the lights dimmed and the world grew quiet, Jungkook would kneel beside the box. Sometimes he'd cry. Sometimes he'd smile. Sometimes he'd whisper something no one could hear. But he always touched the lid gently, as if to say, "Thank you. For writing. For remembering. For waiting." The story didn't end. Because it was never just a story. It was a feeling kept alive through ink and chords and silence. It was about you. About us. About everyone who's ever loved someone they never got to hold, but never stopped carrying. And somewhere in a quiet studio under warm lamplight, Jungkook still writes. Not for her. Not for him. Not even for himself. But for the ones who understand. That even the letters we never send still find their way home. Purple Heart, see you in the next story, Army. Where silence isn't the absence of love, but its most faithful form.